Step back into the forge, drop your fragile ego, and listen. There is a deeply uncomfortable truth about the people who actually think. They look absolutely nothing like the modern definition of being highly intelligent. Their brilliance hides behind quiet habits, heavily misunderstood behaviors, and dead silence that average people mistake for cold indifference. But here is the reality. True intelligence is absolutely never loud. It is fiercely disciplined, fully contained, and shaped by an iron inner order that most will simply never see. The Stoics leverage this incredible secret perfectly. Today, we are breaking down the 5 weird habits of a truly intelligent mind. Fools desperately scream for constant validation. Silent minds always conquer the room. Let us begin.
Point 1. The illusion of conformity. Truth number 1. The illusion of conformity. The average person builds their entire life on heavily borrowed beliefs. They blindly follow ideas they have absolutely never examined, and strict rules they have never once questioned. But those with true intelligence are cursed, or perhaps beautifully blessed, with the severe inability to accept things at face value. When modern society aggressively dictates that this is how things have always been done, the intelligent mind simply stops and asks why. He absolutely does not rebel out of pathetic arrogance, but out of a quiet, fierce commitment to truth. Seneca perfectly stated, "It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable. Your identity is not a cheap replica." That unconquerable nature absolutely does not just resist physical pain, it fiercely resists blind conformity. We live in a tragic age where cheap imitation is constantly mistaken for genuine identity. Everyone desperately wants to fit into a comfortable box. The intelligent mind, however, finds massive peace in standing entirely out. He listens deeply, but he absolutely does not absorb everything he hears. He meticulously filters. He surgically dissects. He ruthlessly chooses exactly which thoughts actually deserve space inside his head. And yes, this extreme filtering makes him seem weird to the masses. He stays completely calm when others are furiously angry. He does not aggressively react when provoked, not because he is weak, but because he intrinsically understands that a fast reaction gives all your power away to a fool. This specific habit of fiercely questioning everything is exactly what keeps him free. He completely refuses to seek validation through blind agreement. For him, every single idea must aggressively pass through the iron gates of cold logic and high integrity before it ever earns a permanent place in his powerful belief system. Intelligence is not memorizing what the crowd taught you. It is the courage to unlearn everything. But what happens when you stop seeking the loud crowd entirely? Welcome to truth number 2. Point 2. The sanctuary of solitude. Truth number 2. The sanctuary of solitude. Most people run absolutely terrified from dead silence, because silence violently reveals who they truly are. A fragile mind that constantly seeks chaotic noise, cheap attention, and endless external validation has absolutely not yet learned how to sit alone with itself. But those who carry real, intimidating depth are aggressively drawn to solitude, not out of pathetic loneliness, but out of absolute necessity. The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus once taught that a truly intelligent mind has learned to wish for absolutely nothing outside of his own reason. You are your own ultimate sanctuary. We do not seek deep solitude because we hate people. We fiercely seek it because we completely refuse to lose ourselves in them. While the modern world mindlessly scrolls, desperately chasing fake meaning in constant motion, the highly intelligent man violently steps back. He deeply observes. He actively questions his own raw emotions instead of blindly reacting to them. He absolutely does not need to constantly prove he is right to the masses. He only needs to clearly understand why he thinks the way he does. True intelligence, as the ancient Stoics heavily taught, comes from perfectly aligning your deep thoughts with iron virtue. Solitude aggressively gives you that crystal clarity. It gives you the necessary space to surgically dissect your own mind, to brutally identify exactly where you are weak, and to quietly rebuild in dead silence. This is exactly why Marcus Aurelius wrote his powerful meditations directly to himself, and absolutely never to an audience. He deeply understood that his own mind was his single greatest battlefield. If you find massive comfort in being completely alone, it is not because you are antisocial. It is because your profound thoughts are rich enough to keep you excellent company. You are aggressively training the most dangerous weapon you possess. Your mind must finally learn to function without their cheap applause. Starve your distractions, feed your focus. But what exactly do you do when you are forced into the noise? Welcome to truth number 3. Point 3, the lethal observer. Truth number 3, the lethal observer. In a loud, chaotic world where absolutely everyone is incredibly desperate to be heard, those who choose to listen quietly always hold the greatest power. They deeply see exactly what others miss. They feel what others completely ignore. They aggressively read the dead silence between the spoken words, and in that profound silence they always find the brutal truth. Quiet observation is absolutely not passivity. It is supreme, calculated control. It is the iron discipline of the Stoic mind at work. Zeno of Citium, the brilliant founder of Stoicism, taught that a truly wise man never rushes to an opinion, because emotional haste heavily belongs to those enslaved by reaction. Your silence is your ultimate weapon. The more impulsive a person is, the easier they are to manipulate, but the one who deliberately pauses, who watches closely before ever reacting, becomes absolutely untouchable. We actively understand that most modern conversations are absolutely not about truth. They are about fragile ego. People speak loudly to dominate, not to understand. They listen only to reply, not to reflect. And so, the intelligent mind consciously chooses silence, not because he is weak, but because he completely refuses to participate in that endless, meaningless noise. This rare habit of deep observation violently builds supreme awareness. Awareness of others, awareness of raw emotion, and most importantly, awareness of yourself. When you observe without immediate judgment, you begin to clearly see the hidden patterns, the invisible triggers that make people incredibly angry, the dark desires that make them lie, the deep insecurities that make them unnecessarily cruel. This is precisely what quiet observation aggressively gives you, the ultimate upper hand of emotional discipline. While others explode in dramatic rage, you stand fiercely calm. While others desperately defend their fragile egos, you coldly analyze the situation. You begin to realize that those who talk the most are often just desperately trying to convince themselves. But those who speak less, who actually think before they ever respond, carry a heavy aura of absolute control that cannot ever be faked. That dark, commanding stillness is incredibly magnetic and highly dangerous to those who are weak. Because true power is silent, you never need to desperately shout, "Let the fools destroy themselves now." Let us welcome truth number 4. Point 4, the unshakable core. Truth number 4, the unshakable core. There is a profound kind of intelligence that absolutely does not show itself in loud words or complex theories, but in how a person actually endures massive pain. Most average people constantly mistake emotional detachment for cold emptiness. But the brutal truth is the exact opposite. The ones who feel the most deeply are very often the ones who have finally learned how to stand perfectly still in the absolute center of a violent storm. They have faced so much crushing chaos that they have practically discovered what the great Stoic Epictetus truly meant. He perfectly stated, "It is not what happens to you, but exactly how you react to it that truly matters. Your reaction dictates your reality." We, the ones actively learning to govern our own powerful minds, deeply understand that wild emotions are absolutely not our enemies. They are simply temporary visitors. They strictly come to test us, to ruthlessly reveal exactly where our inner foundations still crack. The weak completely drown in those heavy feelings. The strong, the fully awake, let the massive wave hit them directly and remain completely unmoved. This is absolutely not coldness. It is supreme composure, entirely born of brutal battle. It is the specific kind of silent strength that severely frightens those who heavily rely on emotional chaos to manipulate and control others, because they simply cannot provoke what absolutely no longer reacts. Think very closely about this. When someone sharply insults you, what do they really want? A reaction. When someone aggressively tests your patience, what are they desperately seeking? Control. When they desperately try to make you jealous, angry, or deeply fearful. They are in absolute truth heavily begging you to just hand over your inner power. But when you absolutely do not give it, when you respond with pure silence, or a very steady gaze, or a beautifully calm acceptance, they immediately crumble. Because now, they are completely alone with their own pathetic emotions. That is the true essence of the unconquerable stoic mind. The legendary Marcus Aurelius practically practiced this iron discipline daily. As the ultimate ruler of the known world, he incredibly wrote to himself, "You have incredible power over your mind. Clearly realize this and find strength. You are watching a deadly fire from a distance. Respect, power, but never burn your hands." Welcome to truth number 5. Point 5. The strategic ignorance. Truth number 5. The strategic ignorance. There is a deeply misunderstood power in the deliberate act of simply ignoring things. Average minds firmly believe that they must fiercely respond to absolutely everything, every single insult, every minor inconvenience, every loud opinion on the internet. They exhaust their precious energy fighting meaningless battles that hold zero value. But the truly intelligent mind operates on a completely different level of awareness. He actively practices the devastating art of strategic ignorance. He intrinsically understands that his personal peace is far more valuable than proving a desperate point to a fool. The great emperor Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself of this specific truth. He wrote, "You always own the powerful option of having absolutely no opinion. Your peace requires absolute ruthlessness." We live in an incredibly loud era designed to constantly steal your attention. Outrage is manufactured daily just to keep you permanently distracted and heavily emotionally drained. But when you deliberately choose not to engage, you instantly strip the world of its heavy power over you. You look at the burning chaos, you recognize it, and you calmly walk right past it. This is absolutely not arrogance or blissful blindness. It is the fierce, calculated conservation of your own vital life force. Why on earth would you invest your mental clarity into arguments that will vanish by tomorrow? When someone aggressively tries to drag you into their personal drama, refuse the invitation. Let them furiously fight their own invisible demons while you build your empire in deep silence. This ruthless filtering strictly preserves your sharp focus for what actually matters. It allows you to heavily invest in your ultimate growth, your deep purpose, and your unshakable character. People will eventually become terrified of your silence because they realize they cannot trigger you anymore. You have become immune to their desperate manipulation tactics. Your absolute refusal to ever participate is the ultimate display of untouchable sovereignty. They see a formidable mind that refuses to be broken down by the crowd. Your attention is a deeply finite currency. Stop spending it on cheap people. Now prepare for the final iron command. The loud masses will absolutely always misunderstand your path. They will confidently call you extremely arrogant, weird, or completely cold. Let them speak. You do not ever need their loud permission to build your iron mind. The great philosopher Seneca wrote, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." Your focus is your ultimate empire. Stop actively spreading your precious energy across a million meaningless things today. Cultivate these 5 habits. Protect your sacred solitude with absolute force. Observe the chaotic world, but completely refuse to absorb its deadly poison. The weak will forever beg the loud crowd for their cheap validation. We demand nothing but absolute excellence if you truly belong to the Forge. If your fragile ego is finally dead, type "I am ready" in the comments right now, subscribe, and stay utterly relentless.